No tricks, only sweets, by Robiness. Summary. Draco doesn't really understand this trick-or-treating fiasco, but he doesn't need to as long as it makes his family happy this Halloween night. Which Scorpius wants to be a non-cheating princess, Teddy's a snarky preteen, Harry's just as excited as the little kids to hoard candy, and Draco's not going to wear a milkmaid costume, thank you very much. A Drarry fanfiction.
Father, you've got to hear this. Father!
Scorpius Malfoy, there better be a good reason you're trying to impale the floorboards with your feet.
Draco chastised as his youngest bounced into the study. His husband followed their son into the room at a more sedate pace.
And would still be in better condition than before you fixed this place. You seem to think that's a compliment when all it tells me is that you're all right with wasting my efforts.
Draco's tone was dry, but he did squeeze Harry's arm when the latter came to kiss him hello.
Father!
Scorpius stomped his foot with a scowl.
Harry looked at him sharply.
I know you're excited, Scorpius, but your father's been working. We're the ones bothering him here.
He wasn't working them. You were being mushy.
Draco closed the book he was reading and lifted his 7-year-old onto his lap. Scorpius made a token resistance, but settled quickly in his father's arms.
Be as it may, there is no need for that attitude. You know I'm always willing to listen to what you have to say. Do you understand?
Yes, Father. I'm sorry.
Scorpius buried his face in Draco's shoulder.
Sorry, Dad.
Harry ruffled his hair affectionately.
No problem, kiddo. Why don't you tell your father what you were so excited about?
Like magic, Scorpius lit up and immediately forgot about being sullen.
There's going to be trick-or-treating, Father.
Sorry?
All the kids in Godric's Hollow are going to dress up and go around the houses in the village to ask for candy, and they could say there's always a lot, and the best house is the one right beside the park. But not the side with the flowers, the one behind the swing, and I asked the girl which side of the swing is the front and which is the back, because you can sit both ways, and she said,
Wait. I'm sorry, Scorpius, but did you say that the children are going to approach strangers for candy?
Draco asked with no little amount of concern. He turned to Harry for confirmation.
Muggle thing,
Harry explained with a grin. He had transformed Draco's armchair into a love seat so that all three of them could sit together.
It's a Halloween tradition. Muggles kind of understand that they're closer to spirits on that day. The kids dress up all scary and pressure the locals to give them candy. Something like that. I've never actually.
His cheer faltered, but he recovered quickly. Draco took his hand.
Anyway, it'll be fun. There will be chaperones, don't worry.
I want to wear a costume,
Scorpius said, practically vibrating.
It sounds fun, Father, but Dad said you have to say yes first.
Draco said noncommittally.
Why don't the parents of these children just buy them candy?
Draco,
Harry groaned.
That's like asking you why your Yuletide parties can't just be you and a bunch of maids growing a pint. It's a tradition. Yet, curiously, you ask me that exact thing every December. All right, fair, but I'll volunteer to be a chaperone. How about that?
His husband might as well be another metamorphagus, with perked ears and a wagging tail, Draco mused. In truth, he had no issue with the idea. They always stayed for a week or so in Godric's Hollow as the anniversary of Lily's and James Potter's death came around. They've never really mingled with the neighbours before, but apparently there are now enough children to plan this gathering. Scorpius could use more playtime with children his age who weren't also Weasleys, family, or both. He looked at his husband, who still looked just as excited as their 6-year-old. If partaking in this odd tradition meant that the shadows were further from Harry this Halloween night, then how could Draco refuse?
If your father's with you, then what's the harm?
Draco said, smiling as Scorpius whooped and immediately ran to go find his brother.
You're going to be the favourite parent for a while.
Harry surmised, kissing his cheek and beginning to rub out the tense muscles in Draco's neck from working all afternoon.
As I should be. You're always the fun one to them. Oh, we know you love us, and we love you. You know that, right?
Draco's smile widened as he leaned into the frankly glorious massage.
Yes, of course. You never let me forget it. This is why I avoid being the favourite parent.
Avoid that, really?
Teddy scoffed, picking at his waffles.
Don't play with your food, Theodore, and no snark at breakfast.
Draco scolded before turning back to his treacherous husband.
You didn't even think to warn me that I'd have to make this silly costume?
It's not my fault the other kids talked about their mums and grandparents making their costumes.
Harry argued, dabbing at where he spilled coffee on the shirt.
He got fascinated, I reckon.
Why don't you do then?
Well, I'm already chaperoning him like you told me to.
Draco rolled his eyes.
A hardship, I'm sure.
No snark at breakfast, da.
For Merlin's sake, Teddy, would you keep it quiet while the adults talk?
If I could hear adults talking, sure.
Harry clicked his tongue.
Ted, line. You're not even in your teens yet, Merlin.
Fine, sorry, da.
Draco was still preoccupied by the daunting task.
Why can't I just conjure it? Scorpius doesn't have to know.
Do you want our precious Scorpius to grow up like this one over here?
Harry joked, making Teddy stick a tongue out at him.
I can't knit or make clothes, and I don't want to embarrass my son. Can't we ask the Weasley matriarch for help?
She's told you so many times to call her Molly. Father!
Scorpius yelled, running into the dining room.
I know what costume I want now.
He showed off a bunch of papers with drawings. Teddy took one to examine.
You want to be a violent blizzard? No, I want to be a princess with wings. Ooh, sounds fancy,
Teddy said with a shit-eating grin directed at Draco.
I'm sure your costume will be huge and majestic.
Harry stood up and went over to their eldest, poking his cheek repeatedly.
All right, Ted. Time to go to your room.
But I don't want...
Teddy scowled at Harry's expression and huffed. He mumbled an
"Excuse me,"
and left. Harry and Draco exchanged an exacerbated look, though Draco's was tinged with panic. Harry kneeled in front of Scorpius.
Hey, kid. That's an amazing idea, but it'll be a little hard for your father to make it without magic when Halloween's already so soon. He can do lots of things, but clothing isn't really something either of us is good at.
Don't lump me in with your atrocious fashion sense,
Draco whispered out of earshot. Harry turned to him with an unimpressed expression.
Do you ever think Teddy's growing up the way he is because he hears you speak?
Sorry. Please continue defending my honor.
Scorpius was pouting as he mulled over what he'd just been told.
Well, I don't want to wear a sheet and be a ghost because Robert says that's the worst costume ever.
Harry grinned at Draco's horror.
Hey, don't hate on the classics, but don't worry, your father would never let you out in a sheet.
Would it really be so bad if I conjured it, darling? I'm sure you'd be more comfortable that way.
All right.
Their son relented. He held up his drawings again.
As long as I get to be a princess.
The most dashing one.
And I get candy.
Well, not too.
Of course we get candy. It's Halloween.
Draco shot Harry a look, but didn't protest. He'll have to keep an eye on his boys, but he's so determined to regulate the sugar. Oh, Merlin, the sugar.
If we're using magic, don't make the costume too nice,
Scorpius told Draco cheerily.
Why not? The point was to allow you to wear something well made.
I only wanted it handmade so that it wouldn't be cheating.
Cheating?
Father, can you accompany us if you aren't too busy that night?
What? I?
Come on, Draco, let's make this a family thing.
Harry, the utter child, joined in with a smirk. Jake would rather not mingle, thank you, but then Scorpius hadn't thrown even a little bit of a tantrum earlier.
Oh, all right, as long as Teddy joins too.
Twin whoops came from the excited duo, and Draco couldn't help but smile fondly. Scorpius ran out of the room before Draco could coerce him into taking breakfast.
Ted, you trick-or-treating with us?
Harry said I could stay home with Dar.
Stomping echoed in the house as Teddy returned downstairs.
Harry said. Father agreed to come. What? How do you manage that? You're so spoiled, it's unbelievable.
The two adults could hear giggles from their youngest as he got chased around.
Not too rough, boys,
Harry called out before kissing Draco's temple. Sat down again while Draco had stirred his tea.
That was magnanimous of you. We were very lucky not to get an outburst. Scorpius is an angel, how dare you?
Draco rolled his eyes.
Oh, come on. You saw how he played the situation.
Harry laughed, pulling him closer.
I'm going to end up wearing a bloody costume, aren't I? Wouldn't wager against it. What even could I? I don't understand how a princess is meant to be frightening, now that I think about it. Is a princess costume appropriate for the occasion? I'd rather that my son and I do not look ridiculous in front of the neighbors. Costumes are free for all, apparently. Scorpius probably knows the most at this point. He loves to give ideas.
Draco hummed an agreement. They sat in silence for a while, just enjoying each other's company, while listening to the muffled voices of their children.
When will we visit Lily and James, then?
He asked softly, rubbing circles into Harry's wrist.
Trick-or-treating will start after twilight, so early afternoon. Maybe we can have a picnic. No objections from me. And Harry, if you change your mind and think you'd rather have a quiet Halloween night, just tell me. I'll bring Teddy and Scorpius out still.
Harry ran his nose along Draco's hairline.
My hero, thank you. Don't worry. I wouldn't miss you lot being all dressed up. And the treats. And the treats.
The costumes were a competition. Of course they were.
Draculov, it's not really a big deal. What? Are you telling me to let our son Luke on purpose?
Draco clicked his tongue, making last-minute adjustments to the garments for that night.
Father, it's really unfair that I get magic and the others don't.
Scorpius complained, fidgeting as Draco fussed over his hair.
Are you saying that muggles have inferior methods? My word, Scorpius, I did not raise you this way.
Harry gave a loud sigh from where he was sprawled over the sofa.
Give it up, kiddo. It's the best you learn early that you should avoid the word contest around your father.
Like how you get really, really grumpy when father beats you at his seeking?
Scorpius asked, the epitome of innocence. Draco laughed at Harry's splutters as he finished the last of Scorpius' braids.
There you are,
he said with a satisfied hum.
The greatest and most awe-inspiring princess in all the land. Do you like it, darling?
Scorpius peered into the living room's massive floor-length mirror. He swished his blue skirt around in obvious glee. Draco had shortened them until the knees to prevent tripping, thus exposing the pearlescent shimmer of his silver flats.
I'm so pretty, father, thank you.
Scorpius was practically bouncing around. Only magic would maintain his braids until well into the evening.
Could I go meet my friends now?
Give us a minute. You can wait outside for us, but not past the gate. It's still dark out, even with all the fanfare.
Yes, father.
Draco fixed the cuff of his attire. He was a prince in blues and greens to complement Scorpius, with a child-proofed silver sword at his waist and a matching circlet on his head.
So wish you wanted milkmaid one. Hush.
He scolded his equally spruced-up escort. Harry was wearing a long black coat with an upturned collar, with his canines extended with a glamour. His lips were wine red.
I'd rather not traumatize the children, or the muggles.
If Draco had agreed, they probably wouldn't be able to get their hands off each other. Indeed, Harry looked gorgeous as a dark predator, and he knew that wearing the appropriate prince outfit didn't stop Harry from wanting to devour him. Not that Draco would really mind the action, just the audience. Harry read his expression and gave a rather dangerous-looking grin.
Behave, you foul beast. You behave.
Scorpius must have gotten impatient because the front door was opened once more.
Dad, can we go now?
We're coming, kiddo.
Harry laughed, kissing Draco's cheek and holding out his arm. Draco took it with an amused shake of his head.
You're sure Teddy's already at the park? Yes, the Winstons should be watching him. He didn't want you to see his costume yet.
He's going to hide and spook you,
Scorpius informed Draco when they finally stepped outside. His conspiratorial demeanour gave way to disgruntlement.
If he stops staring at Wendy's older brother.
Ah,
Draco replied, following him at a sedate pace. A couple of families were walking nearby, presumably to the same destination. A few waved at Harry and Scorpius.
I was wondering why he suddenly seemed so eager to leave.
He narrowed his eyes, looking away from the parade of costumed muggles.
He didn't metamorphose into something obviously different, did he?
Harry rubbed a gloved hand over where Draco had the crook of his elbow.
No, it just seems like it took more than a week to make. Shouldn't be any trouble to wave away. The Winstons didn't react at all, except maybe to take a few steps back at first. In fact, maybe you should hide behind me as we approach him, my prince. I'll protect you.
He slyly trailed a finger underneath Draco's cuff.
Of course, it seems it's me you need the most protection from. This sword might be dull, but it will still hurt you. Your sword is far from dull. Ow, ow, all right.
Draco pinched him once more for good measure, smiling genially at the neighbours who turned to look at them. The night went off without a hitch. It was an enjoyable Halloween celebration, even if Draco gave into the sugar spree in the end. No one told him there'd be candied apples, and so he couldn't be blamed for the lax rationing for the rest of the family. Interacting with fellow parents wasn't deplorable. They were a bit excitable, though, especially about the fact that they were a sort of association that planned everything. Draco privately thought that he could do it a bit better than cardboard graveyards and faux cobwebs, even without magic. And if he got the chance, he'd definitely call the seemingly endless pumpkin theme. Perhaps next year, he thought, now sliding into bed. Scorpius wanted to sleep beside them tonight and convinced his brother to do the same, though the whole family was in the enormous four-poster in the master bedroom. He kissed Teddy's skull and Scorpius' cheeks, taking care not to wake them. It was a nightmare getting them to sleep at all, the artificial energy turning them into overactive ice mice. How muggles dealt with that without calming draughts, Draco did not know. Harry opened his eyes at the dip in the mattress and smiled goofily.
Brilliant Halloween, don't you think?
He whispered.
Indeed. Even the snarky one enjoyed himself.
Teddy had managed to startle Draco and win the costume contest, assuring his excellent mood. He had worn a simple all-black ensemble with some dirt and leaves for effect, but the real art lay in the bloodied horns he'd grown, curled grotesquely to almost a foot above him, and the thick, throbbing veins crawling over translucent face with whiteless eyes. The menacing grin quickly turned teasing when Draco had yelped at his sudden appearance and almost drew his wand. While Draco tried to calm down and not hex his beloved son, Harry was every bit the proud, beaming parent as they received praises for their son's make-up skills. Scorpius grumbled about cheating when Teddy claimed his prize, but cheered up considerably when his brother made sure he got all the nice chocolate from their stash.
He certainly has the old flair for the dramatic.
Harry curled around Teddy, who was closest to him, and breathed in deeply.
I'm glad we joined in. We're going to get such awful stomach aches tomorrow. I'll deal with the writing, don't worry. I'll even get you that fancy brew you like.
Draco smiled at the thought of being pampered, wrapping an arm as far as he could to cover the loves of his life.
Dad?
Scorpius murmured, still mostly asleep.
We're here, kiddo.
Monsters. aren't really going to come tonight, right?
We're wizards, darling.
Draco reminded him, nuzzling his hair.
If they do, your dad and I will take care of them. No need to worry.
Okay.
Scorpius gave a big yawn and settled down again. Both boys shifted, though Teddy didn't wake and merely snuggled farther into Scorpius' side.
I'm really glad you roped me into this,
Draco said after a while, taking Harry's hand and kissing the knuckles.
I love you. Protect us from the monsters.
Harry was joking, of course, but Draco was reminded of how no shadows crossed his husband's face tonight, despite how a scant few hours before donning their costumes they were by his parents' grave. Even if he hadn't ended up enjoying himself, Draco would still go to all the hectic parties and wear the silliest of costumes 1,000 times over, if it meant that Harry would always look as peaceful as he did now.
Yes,
Draco said, feeling his eyes begin to droop. Sleep would be restful tonight.
Our family's safe, I promise.
The end. Thank you for listening to this very wonderful, fluffy Halloween story by the wonderful Robiness. I really hope you enjoyed the story. I really hope to see you back here tomorrow. And I really hope you enjoy your fall so far. Thank you for listening.